Order. Good evening and welcome to the West Hartford Public Board of Education regular meeting. Let me start that again. Good evening, that is. Welcome to the West Hartford Public Schools regular Board of Education meeting. It is Tuesday, March the 7th. May we please have the roll call? An oldie but goodie, Cammie, please.
Dr. Chang?
Here.
Mr. Goldman?
Here.
Dr. Harris?
Here.
Dr. Kamoff?
Here.
Dr. Steinberg?
Here.
Dr. Thomas Sparkison?
Here.
Ms. Nassarella?
Present.
Student Representatives Megan Murphy?
Here.
And Caitlin Striffcave?
Here. Thank you. And Caitlin, may you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I intended to say blast from the past. So good to see you again, Cammie. We know that we are familiar with Cammie, who is covering for Charlotte today. We hope that Charlotte feels better. Continuing on with the agenda, we do not have a revision to the agenda order. Now it is time for public communications. This is where we have an opportunity to hear from you, your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, and your suggestions. Each individual has 3 minutes to speak, and while you are speaking, please be mindful of Cammie, who will hold up a yellow card when you have 1 minute remaining in your time, and a red card when your time has expired. Please, when you do come to the podium, please give your name and your town of residence. And be mindful, we are attentively listening to what you are saying. However, it's policy that we do not comment to your comments. And we certainly look forward to hearing constructive comments pertaining to our district and certainly the young people in whom we are charged to serve. We do have a policy now where we begin with comments from those that are speaking on agenda items. And the agenda item for today is presentation of the Superintendent Budget 2023-2024. And those that are speaking on non-agenda items will go afterwards. I do not have anyone on the list here that's signing up for an agenda item, but I will ask those in the audience. Is anyone here desire to speak on an agenda item? Again, the agenda for this evening is on the Superintendent's Budget. Seeing none, we'll now go to the list for general comments, and we have 2 individuals who have signed up, beginning with Anita.
Your microphone is not working, just so you're aware.
Okay, thank you. I'll project my voice. Thank you.
All right, my name is Anita, and I live and have been a resident here in the town of West Hartford. I wrote this out. It's something that was handed to me in the Office of Corporation Counsel, so I'll read it. Please pass along any FOIA requests from Ms. Arakelian to Attorney Latour, who will take responsibility for acknowledging such requests and coordinating the retrieval and disclosure of responsive records. Note that if you see myself copied on a request, there is no need to do so, as I will make sure Attorney Latour receives it. With regard to Ms. Arakelian's other requests and demands, I note that under the FOIA, you are not required to respond to questions or allegations. Given Ms. Arakelian's repeated threats of litigation, I would counsel against responding to any inquiries, and I recommend that you allow my office and the administration to manage all communications with her. Obviously, this is a complex and sensitive matter. I can appreciate that Ms. Arakelian's rigid thinking and manic responses are concerning to many of you, and the school's first priority remains ensuring a positive learning environment for the students involved. With regard to the complaints and concerns Ms. Arakelian has raised about various staff, please allow the administration to respond as appropriate. Written by Dallas Dodge Corporation Counsel. All of you received it, so did some of you in the Office of the Superintendent. Clearly there are many errors in here, but what I want to stop is the character defamation of parents who ask questions. Under no circumstances should any parent have to face what I faced in terms of character defamation. Under no circumstances should my child or any other parent or guardian's child be removed from the classroom, or again, character defamation, because that's not right. That is intimidation, that is coercion, and that is not allowed by the law. Please tell Dallas Dodge what he wrote, because he sent it. There's a question of libel. I believe all funds should go for the use of the students and only the students. So I will not act on this except to make sure that everyone knows there will not be any more character defamation against parents who ask questions. And I did graduate from elite U.S. schools, both in the public school district and the universities that my parents paid full tuition for. And I want you to understand what my father told us, all three of us, when we graduated from U.S. He said, I've paid for it. You go into this world and you take that knowledge and you do good. No more character defamation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Addie.
Addie Lord in West Hartford. You've just heard Attorney Dodge, character assassination. In your name, as I said before, Attorney Dodge is before the FOIA Commission for denying my rights. He did not acknowledge a FOIA request on communications. It is very clear that Dallas Dodge and the Corporation Council were in full knowledge of what they did. In your name. And as a resident, I have the privilege of paying taxes to pay for Cowdery, Murphy, Dennehy, and Healy, a white-collar defense attorney group, to pay for his defense, to mount a defense for denying my rights. We as parents are asking for records on finances. We as parents are asking that our children's privacy is ensured when they are in the public school system here in West Hartford. We are asking that their right to pursue their instruction in a public school is upheld by you, the board. There is communication within the administration. Mr. Vicinis, you answer my questions, you answer follow-up questions. Recently, I asked about the fact that my daughter, who is in 4th grade, her school account for the cafeteria was accessed, and there was a charge. I have 3 children, and in 15 years, none of my children have accessed their account. Mr. Morrow sent my request to 2 people who could not possibly answer it because they did not have the knowledge. I found the point person, thank you for the rolling of the eyes there, Mr. Morrow. I found the point person in nutrition services who did answer my questions and answered my follow-up questions because I was concerned about my child's privacy. She did a very good job. Some of the administration actually answers questions. Some of the administration actually cares. Do you? Do you care what's done in your name? Denying rights? And what is the contract that the BOE has with Cowdery, Murphy, Dennehy, and Healy in defending Attorney Dodge for stating in your name that he would take me in legal terms against me for a vexatious requester? Did you approve him to intimidate me with that threat after he denied my rights? I hope not, because that is not the town that I moved into almost 30 years ago. That is not the town that I have been bringing my children up in. And I ask you to take this very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more comments from anyone in the audience? Yes. Please, when you come to the podium, please state your full name and your town of residence.
My name is Ari Schaefer, live here in West Hartford. I just want to speak to a point Dr. Harris made at the last meeting. She requested to add an idea of making a curriculum committee to the agenda. Just like to speak in support of that. One of the things I noticed during the last Board of Education meeting, there was discussion about the calendar. At no point during that discussion was it brought up how new holidays would affect the affect the parents. When you put new holidays on the calendar, I understand it's very important. We want to recognize different holidays and how different groups celebrate those holidays. We want to give them recognition, but it also means that parents have to figure out how to take care of their kids. And if they don't celebrate those holidays, all the more so it's more complicated for them. So I think they said that for Diwali, a holiday recognized by the Indian community largely, about 3 to 4% of students celebrated. That means 96 to 97% don't celebrate. So that means 96 to 7% of students' parents don't celebrate that holiday. So they would have to figure out how to take care of childcare. They would have to figure out childcare for those days, even though they don't celebrate those holidays. So I think just the way that discussion went on without thinking about how that would impact the parents shows that we do need more discussion and input from the parents in general in these discussions. So kind of bring it all back to Dr. Harris's point, a curriculum committee would be a way to bring parents more into the discussion. So I think that's something, if we could possibly add to the agenda to discuss in the future, we should.
Thank you. I didn't want to cut you off if you were still... Okay, all right, thank you. Anyone else would like to make a comment? All right, thank you. We'll put a pause on public communications. Non-staff communications is when we're able to hear from our student representatives. So let us first begin with Megan.
Good evening, everyone. So, excuse me. Starting out with some recent athletics announcements. At Conard, we're in our state tournament right now, postseason, with the winter season wrapping up. Starting out with our Conard girls basketball team, they defeated New Britain, and they'll advance to play Fairfield Ludlow tomorrow night. And this is very exciting because it's the first quarterfinals trip since 1978 and 1979. So a good, exciting time for the program in general. The boys basketball team will play at Fairfield tonight. It started at 6:30. Not sure how that's going right now, but it's their first round of states, so wishing them good luck. The boys hockey team won against E.O. Smith last night, defeating them 3-0, and they'll advance to the quarterfinals, which will be this Thursday. And then I want to recognize 3 of our track athletes who placed at New England's this weekend. First being Audrey Kirkudis, who was named New England high jump champion. Tess Sherry, who placed second in the mile. And then Liv Sherry, who placed third in the 1,000-meter run. So very exciting for all of our sports. And then just outside of athletics, Afaf Alber was awarded the DAR Good Citizenship Award. Tomorrow, to celebrate International Women's Day, we're going to have a panel during lunch waves that will happen in the Career Center. 4 of our teachers are going to speak, each one period, talking about their experiences. So it's really great for our students to interact. And then last but not least, Frozen is completely sold out, all shows. Very exciting. We saw a preview in school today, and I think everyone just really enjoyed it. These students and staff and everyone involved have been really working hard. And so there will also be a show for senior citizens, and I think they're working on a live stream so that other people can watch if they couldn't get a ticket. But yeah, just a few exciting announcements.
Thank you. Caitlin.
Okay, similar order. For sports, we had our boys swim team won CCCs, which is really exciting. Our boys track team won state opens, and a few of them just competed in New England's, and a few individuals and a few relays from the boys and girls track team will be competing in nationals this weekend, which is super cool and very exciting, and they get a bunch of swag from it, so that's also cool. The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society are hosting dodgeball tournaments and a movie night last week in a dodgeball tournament in this few coming days, which is really cool. And they've been doing a lot of fun activities around school, and they've been really ramping it up, which is awesome. So we're raising a lot of money. Chocolate Cafe just happened with Celesti, which is the school orchestra group, and that happened at Town Hall. I was there. It was really cool. I got chocolate cake. It was good. So, Junior Els Rowley was the finalist for Hall High School Shakespeare contest, and they went on to compete at the branch competition in Greenwich, and they won. So now they're going to nationals, which is really cool. And we have conferences on Thursday, so late opening. Awesome. Yay. And Pops and Jazz opens this week on Friday. We have not sold out yet, but you should buy tickets. And we have a in-school performance tomorrow for that. It's this Friday, Saturday, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday next week. So yeah, very exciting, big things going on at both schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Megan and Caitlin, speaking on behalf of Conard and Hall respectively, please know that we are so proud of your schools and the students within your schools. It's just wonderful to read about the updates and certainly hear about the updates, so please let it know you have many cheerleaders cheering all of you on. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn by saying I'm speaking on behalf of the board here as well. So proud of all of you. Thank you so much. Moving on to unfinished business, which we do not have any. Now moving on to new business, where we will receive presentation of the Superintendent's 2023-2024 budget recommendations. We are seeking a motion that the Board of Education receive the Superintendent's recommended 2023-2024 education budget and begin the process of reviewing and modifying for final approval and adoption as the Board of Education budget at the April 4th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion. Passing it to you, Dr. Murrow.
All right. So, first, to start off, I just want to give a huge thanks to Liz Hewitt and her incredibly dedicated team there, which really have gone above and beyond to not only put this presentation and this budget piece together, but really all year, and making sure that we're well positioned to continue the work that we're doing on behalf of the students, on behalf of the community. Also wanted to thank our entire extended leadership team for their input and support during this process. This is a multi-month process that we literally begin the first week of school. And so it's important that everyone understand the great work that they're doing as well. So let's start off with a little background, as we traditionally do, giving sort of an overview of where we are in our schools. 26% of our students are in non-English home languages. We have 45% of our students are students of color. 26% are eligible for free and reduced lunch. That's up slightly over the years since the pandemic. And over 17% of our students are receiving special education services. So our challenge this year, and really every year, is to meet the academic and the emotional needs of our students in the most cost-efficient way. And we've crafted this budget, and I present this budget with the hope that it respects both the parents and the taxpayers in our community. So historically, West Hartford has seen a decline over the years in where we rank in per pupil expenditures. We've seen a slight rebound in the last, since about 2016, where we were ranked 127th in the state. We're now up to 92nd in the state. So we're clearly still one of the most cost-effective districts as far as presenting and really getting a payoff for every dollar that we spend. If you look at where we are in our expenditure per pupil, this year we're just under $20,000 a student. And historically, we've been under the Dergby average. This past year, we're right at about the Dergby average of 20,000 per pupil, frankly, because the Dergby districts were using ESSER funding and such. But historically, as you can see, over the past 5 years, we have saved, we would have, let me put it this way, if we were spending with the comparable Dergby districts, it would have cost taxpayers an additional $28.6 million. If we were spending simply at the state median for this year, for this budget, we would be $4.2 million over what we currently have. And over the past 5 years, we have, in essence, saved $24 million just beyond the state median. We use the median for this calculation and for this comparison instead of the state average, simply because the state average can be skewed. It takes into consideration you have some districts that may only have 100 students and may have a may have an NCEP of 50,000 per pupil. So we use the median as a much better indication of where we are in relation to not only our reference group, which you can see listed there as well, but also with the state spending. So where are we by category? And I show this every year, and we show this every year, because it emphasizes that education is people. And when we look at salaries and benefits, that's 82% of our budget. It's actually down 1% from last year due to position changes and due to our health reserves. And so the rest of it, the rest of the pieces of the pie there are very small, as you can see. The only thing that has increased is the 1% that we are saving in salaries and benefits for this proposed budget is being taken up by utilities. Utilities have gone 1 to 2%. So, a roll forward budget for those who are new to this and have not been a part of this before. A roll forward budget is, what would our budget be if we simply picked up exactly what we have today and had it in place to start the 2023-24 school year, with no changes to our existing programs and our existing staffing, students, and expectations. Our roll forward budget, if we were to do that, would be 6%, $10,819,103. So 6% if we just were to say what we have today, we're going to have for the start of the school year. Salary increases, 3.73%. That's largely based to the general wage increases per our collective bargaining agreements, some additional staffing in our current year that we've added to meet our student needs. Our medical expenses are going to increase by $2.5 million. And so over 10%. A large portion of that is the estimated premium increase of 8% from the state partnership plan. You may remember about 6 years ago, about 5 years ago, we joined, instead of being self-insured as a district, we had an opportunity and we joined the state partnership plan, which is a consortium that the approach is that it spreads costs amongst more state employees. And for a number of years, this has benefited us. For the 2021, premiums were up less than 1%. For 22, we actually saw our premiums go down 1.7%. This past year, the current year, if you remember from our budget, our active health premiums went up 10%. And we're being told by the state to expect a premium increase of an additional 8% for next year. Our pension and other benefit increases have gone up over 5%. That's a contribution to the town pension plan. I blame Rick. That's increased long-term disability and life insurance premiums, also blaming Rick. And simply increased Social Security, that's consistent with our increases in wages. Our transportation expenses are projected to increase over $700,000. And again, that's simply the cost of what we have increasing. You know, as we look at a consumer price index and inflation that, as you know from the news, has been increasing over 6%, when we were able to extend our first student contract, and that's been extended at a very favorable rate for us, and our specialty transportation, which is our transportation for our students with special needs, went out to bid, and we've awarded that to specialty again. But again, there's increases in that as the transportation companies have had wage increases in upkeep for buses, and certainly increases in their costs for gas. Utility expenses are projected to rise 30%. And again, as you've seen from the news, that's consistent with what you're seeing at your homes. This has a compound effect of higher rates that we've experienced this year, which then build in large increases over a higher base for next year as well. And so when we're looking at natural gas, and water and electricity rates, with all of the conservation that we've done and continue to do with the town and working with all of our resources there, we're still going to see an increase there that we're projecting at close to 30%. Our tuition expenses are set to increase in our estimate by 15%. And that's a big number. That's something that we haven't seen in the past. We've seen it, we saw it this year, and we can continue then to see it for next year based on the projections and what we're working with. And it's not simply something that is limited to West Hartford. It's something, and it's a conversation that I've had with a number of districts, a number of superintendents nearby. What we're seeing is an increase in our outplacements, both the number of student outplacements, and then when a student is placed elsewhere, which of course we want and support because our goal is to have every child supported in the setting that is most conducive to them excelling. What we're seeing though is increased tuition rates from a lot of these facilities as well. We have a capped state reimbursement, which, you know, as I shared last month, has increased for us this year from 70% to 85%. We're not, it's still not 100% of excess cost reimbursement, and we're still questioning, and the legislature is still kind of going back and forth, it seems, whether if the 85% will hold for future years. So excess cost reimbursement can be misleading when we say that we're being reimbursed for 85% of excess cost. Excess cost kicks in at 4.5 times our per capita spending for a student. So say it's $20,000, we spend $20,000 per student. At $90,000, 4.5 times that, that's when excess cost kicks in. And so if a student is in a program that costs $150,000, anything beyond $90,000 contributes in the excess cost. So we then would be able to submit the $60,000, and of that $60,000, the projection is that we would get 85% of that back. I think there's a misunderstanding because I think a lot of people assume, well, excess cost is anything that's excess over 4.5 times. And so that's a significant number. When you look at West Hartford, for this year, our current total estimated tuition for this year is $13 million. Our projection, estimated state reimbursement of excess cost, is $5 million. And that's a significant number that we're dealing with and addressing. So, here's what we're proposing, and here's what I'm proposing as far as the modifications for this. We're looking at cutting a total of $2 million from our rollover budget, a total of 33.25 positions. And so from an enrollment standpoint, we're looking at 12 positions, 3 elementary sections. These are mainly in response to some decreased enrollment projections that we're seeing. We have some middle school cuts, we have some high school cuts, and some other specials that coincide with that. That's simply based on our enrollment projections, where we are projecting students next year coming in and the currently group leaving. And you saw from Liz's presentation at the last meeting where that all is going to take place. Our scheduling efficiencies will save us $265,000. What we mean by scheduling efficiencies is not a loss of service. We're not going to be denying anyone programming. We're not going to be changing this. What we're going to be doing is we think there's some different ways of doing some of our instrumental music instruction at the elementary level. We think there's some better ways of doing our secondary reading supervision and some better ways of delivering our gifted and talented. That's going to save us a small amount, but still a significant amount going forward. Our special instruction there is a little counterintuitive. We're cutting 3 positions, but I'm adding money. And again, that's in response to enrollment, and it's in response to needs. What we're going to be doing there is we're going to be adding 5 special needs teachers, speech and language pathologists, academic intensive teachers, resource professionals, occupation therapists, in response to the mandated needs and the growth that we have with some of our special education programs. We're adding these 5 certified positions. What we're doing, though, is we're trading off then 8 teaching assistant positions, with the idea that our certified staff provide us a much better education and much better, frankly, return on our investment in not only working with our students, but working with our parents in our schools. And so we're going to be adding the certified staff and cutting 8 of the teaching assistants there. So we're going to have a slight add, but we're still cutting the 3 positions. Funding reallocation, that's where we think by moving paraprofessionals to Title I, by moving a math coach over to our ESSER funding, that we're able to better allocate and better identify staff with the different grants and supports that the work that we're having them do. And so that's going to save us $350,000 in 7 positions. And then our non-classroom changes are going to be over $500,000. What we're looking at there is we're looking at areas where there's been retirements, where we've had people resign, and we feel that we can make do or consolidate different approaches. We're looking at paraprofessionals. We're looking at, we have in our print shop, one of our printers has retired. We're going to not fill that position. We have a librarian opening that has been unfilled all year, and we're going to continue having that unfilled. And we have an opportunity at Bristow that I know we've talked a bit about, since Bristow has been downsized from 420 to 315. We're going to take this opportunity to split the administrative position at Bristow and have the assistant principal at Bristow also cover some additional duties. And so between all of that, we're looking at 8.3 positions and $577,000 in cuts, with a total modification then of $2,065,000 and 33.25 positions. We've also planning on eliminating, and we're working with Ann on this, to eliminate 2 district bus routes through consolidation as well, and find some additional savings there, and that's factored in that as well. So, let me summarize a little bit here. So our adopted budget for this year is $181 million. $187,018 to be exact. Our roll forward, as I said, is a 6% increase, over a $10 million increase. The changes I'm proposing will cut $2 million from that, or 1.2%, leaving us with a net increase of $8,754,103, or 4.8% increase. Our total proposed budget is just shy then of $190 million. I only put this up here because I do feel it's relevant. When we talk about the average increases in the state, and we talk about, again, a CPI index that, when I checked today, was 6.41% for as of January. When we talk about the increases that we're seeing across the state, of the 32 districts that have reported so far out as far as their budget requests and the increases that they're proposing, the average for those 32 has been 5.2%. And so we are also coming in under the average for that, and as well as our region. And so with that, I will end the portion there. To remind you also that there's a couple of things, that the next steps are on the 15th. We will have the first workshop here, and that's when the administrative team We'll walk through the various sections and the various changes and be able to address any questions that you come up with then. We'll also then have the board's public hearing on the 29th, and following directly from the public hearing, we will go into the second workshop. The adoption will be on April 4th, and then the town council will adopt their budget on the 25th. I would encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to look at the wonderful program book that Liz left at each of your tables. And I'm going to say this because every year it's ignored, but inside there is a sheet of paper that says, read this first. Read that first, because it does actually explain to you how the book is laid out and usually can answer 80% of the questions that you might have from that. Okay? So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, teammates. As we know, we have opportunities to go into more granular details of the budget and ask questions. Today was the overall presentation with a high-level summary. I will still ask if there are any high-level questions, again, knowing we have 2 additional opportunities for more granular details, but out of respect for you, if you have any high-level questions or comments. Yes, Gail.
Yeah, Andy, I just wanted to ask, this is just sort of a general question. Why do we do a roll-forward budget? And why, I mean, there are other ways to do budget, like zero-based budgeting and other models. Why do we do that in that particular way?
Well, we do that because we do it frankly from a presentation standpoint to show what existing programming would continue to look like and to cost. I think a roll forward budget gives you the best indication of the different drivers that we're seeing as far as cost increase and cost savings.
Other questions or comments? All right. Andy, thank you so much for the time and thoroughness with this. Liz, thank you so much. Liz, there you are. All right. Thank you so much for your time and attention with this as well. Now moving on to staff communications and reports. We have received our superintendent's report in essence with the proposed budget, but we'll still see if there's any additional pieces to say.
Nothing else.
All right. Moving on to staff reports and board discussions, which I believe there are none. All right. Moving on to routine matters. Approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of February 22nd, 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Renee. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jason. Discussion. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you. Information and reports. Board members, communications and reports. Any updates from boards or pieces you may be a part of? All right. Seeing none. Reports from other boards. Seeing none. Other information and discussion. Seeing none. Future business. Announcement of future meeting dates. As has already been shared, we will come together again on Wednesday, March the 15th, 2023 for Budget Workshop number 1 at 7 o'clock here at the Town Hall in room 314, followed by our regular Board of Education meeting on Tuesday, March the 21st at 7 o'clock here at the Town Hall in room 314. And then Wednesday, March the 29th, we will have our public hearing at 7 o'clock, followed by Budget Workshop number 2 here at the Town Hall. So we're going to be together quite often this month. Do we have any requests for future agenda items? Seeing none, do we have any visitors here who would like to make a comment? Seeing none, we do not have an executive session, so seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Jason. A second? Second. Thank you, Ari. Meeting adjourned at 7:38.